You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners and viewers, to What's the T-Bev, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN. I'm your host, Christos Generis. What's the T-Bev is a weekly podcast where I interview members of the LGBTQIA plus community and our allies. We get to know our guest Trekdom and discuss current Trek news and speculation. Remember, you can watch What's the T-Bev on our YouTube channel of the same name or listen wherever you get your BQN podcast. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Matt Jennings. I had a lot of fun recording that one. Matt has so much energy, so infectious. I could talk to him all day. Hope you caught that one. If you haven't caught that one, you can grab that in our YouTube channel history or in the episode history on wherever you're getting your podcasts from. I'd like to share some feedback from Mario again regarding last week's episode. Mario says he loved the discussion of what ship Riker and Picard were looking at. I also agree with you, Christos. February 16th, 2023 needs to come faster. TNG engage. He also said he needs that tangible aspect of holding the item, i.e. your Blu-ray, your 4K disc in his hand. He's not crazy about buying air that he can't control and letting someone else have the keys to his car. That's his 2 cents. Mario, I couldn't agree with you more, and Paramount couldn't agree with you more too, as they continue to hold all those special features hostage on the Blu-rays. And Mario, to discuss that ship that Riker and Picard are looking at, stay tuned to the end of this episode. I may have a little bit more commentary for you on that one. Well, as you know, I don't like to mince words. I like to get right to our guest listeners. So today's guest is a very special one. Somebody I have been able to call friend now for, 4 or 5 years. I'd like to introduce to you folks, Mr. Dan Deevy. Hey, Dan.
Hello. Christos, how are you?
How are you? I'm great. I'm awesome. It's Monday night here in San Diego. I've been working out, so I'm pumped up and I was full of energy, as you can tell.
Nice. Well, it's great to see you, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, you've been on my short list of people since the podcast came to be. I believe Gaaays in Space was one of my first big supporters as you were passing out my little coming soon cards at STLV, the 56-year mission last year in Las Vegas. It's STLV. We're just going to keep on calling. It's the most popular Star Trek event in the world. It's STLV.
Yeah. It's the hashtag.
Right?
They didn't change the hashtag, so yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of STLV, those of you who are watching on YouTube, there is a fun picture of Dan and I from Lower Decks Night, one of the many events that Gaaays in Space hosted at the STLV up in the penthouse.
That was so much fun, by the way, and I love the fact that you came in uniform and took those photos with us. That was such a great night. We had so much fun.
Oh, I got the memo. I like cosplay, but I enjoy group cosplay the most. I think it's so much more fun when that cosplay is amplified into a group and it really kind of, shines through.
Totally. Yeah. And it's just, it becomes more real when it's a bunch of people because you're really you are creating the thing that you're cosplaying. As opposed to if it's just one person, it's like, oh, you're wearing a cool costume. But when it's a whole group of people, you can be like, am I on Deep Space Nine right now? Because everyone looks like they are. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I've done scant cosplay before, but when I did a scant with Joe and Ewan, and there was 3 of us in scans, suddenly we were on the front page of StarTrek.com and in social media. It kind of blows up. On the Star Trek cruise last year, a whole bunch of us did lower decks, and that went really far because it was like 5 of us and 5 or 6 of us in lower decks. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was when we did our lower decks group. We did, the Many Faces of Boimler, and Mike McMahon picked it up. Who else? I'm forgetting his name, which is ridiculous. Who plays Boimler? Who is that? Yeah, that guy. That super handsome guy. He picked it up. It's so cool when they get, especially the actors who are in the animated series, they get such a kick out of seeing, fans who work really hard to, put together the costumes and the cosplay. And, like, I'm in love with my purple Boimler wig. Like, sometimes I just wear it around the house. Like, I love it. And that tends to get a good amount of attention on social media. Yeah, it's a good way to stand out. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Sometimes it's that extra detail.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about Gaaays in Space, which is celebrating 7 years?
Absolutely. So Gaaays in Space began in 2016 when Sulu was gay, and all of a sudden, after 50 plus years of there being no gay characters in Star Trek, suddenly we existed. And we put to rest the speculation that certain people had about why you've never seen a gay person in Star Trek is because it's been cured by the 23rd century, which the first time I heard, you could hear my jaw literally hit the floor the first time I heard that. And it's honestly the reason that Gaaays in Space continued beyond one event. We did the one event because I thought it was a historic moment that we finally made it into the future, because there's the expression, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And, for all of my life, I watched Star Trek. These are the characters that, I wanted to grow up to be like. These are the people who taught me how to be the best human being, the best man that I could be. And at the same time, they're telling me I don't exist. So it was such a monumental moment that I threw the party during Las Vegas. It was such a success. People wanted more. And then I heard that speculation and I said, okay, this has to continue because it is unacceptable that anyone could believe that that was true. So here we are now going on 7 years, over 200 plus events all across the country. Star Trek The Cruise 3 years in a row. Basically every actor in the franchise has been to, one or more of our events. And it's been an incredible experience, not just for that, but for the people that we've met, the friends. Like you said, we've been friends now for over 4 years because of Gaaays in Space. I'm getting married because of Gaaays in Space. My fiance saw that we had done a Gaaays in Space in New York and said, okay, that guy, if I could just meet someone like that guy. And then he came to the party we did in LA a month later, and now we're getting married. So Gaaays in Space has been literally life-changing for me. And I hope for, many other people, hopefully they found their people and their chosen family. And, hopefully we've been spreading some joy and some love. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, you give me hope because I think I went to my first STLV in 2017 and I got on Grindr and I was like, almost fell down when I saw how many gay nerds were at STLV. And I was like, it's like eye opener for me because it was like, oh, gay nerds exist. Gay Star Trek fans exist. I mean, they're in troves. I've met so many people that have a story that's just like mine. I don't know. So I'm still surprised 4 or 5 years later that I have not met somebody from that community that I have decided to settle down with.
Well, he is out there and you keep going to events. You come to all of our events because I guarantee you, Christos, this is where you're going to meet him because there is nothing better than not having to explain to your partner that Captain Picard is on the Next Generation. Captain Kirk, it's Mr. Spock,
Oh
not
yeah.
Dr. Spock. So trust me, he's out there. He is definitely out there.
Yeah, I the problem mostly is I am like one tough cookie to please. I am so like in my zone. We just talked about this on All Good Things the other day. I am like so like happy with life the way it is. Like you better have your shit together if you're going to try to get me, because otherwise I'm doing great. So, but I think being able to sit on the couch and watch Star Trek with me is it's almost like that is not negotiable. If you can't do that, just keep on walking.
I love it. It's important to have those boundaries and, that checklist, man. Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty much like number one now. Oh, boy. Let's see here. So we have a little bit famous thanks to Gaaays in Space. I am a trading card, part of the trading card series that you've done. Viewers, there's a few samples here, and I was a little stingy. I had about 40 cards to pick from, maybe 45, but I picked people who have actually been guests on What's the T-Bev. So you'll see Sean Ferrick here and Kelvin Wood, who also hosts All Good Things with me here on the BQN. And finally, we have a little bit of a cross promotion here I think we need to announce.
Absolutely.
Yep. So I would like to say that Gaaays in Space and What's the T-Bev are having our first ever T-shirt contest. Not a wet T-shirt contest, a T-shirt contest. Some of you might remember when I had Sean on, we showed this picture of us at STLV wearing our famous top and bottom T-shirt. I must have said top to bottom. I just played that game on New Year's Eve. Total top to power bottom. There you go. T-shirt. And Dan is donating one of each to be given away.
Yes, indeed. And may I say, I love that photo because you guys get it. You have to stand next to each other like that. So it looks like the ship is right there ready to dock. Now, I'm not saying any more about the word dock, but the two that way, that's how you take a photo wearing those two shirts. So well done, sir.
Right?
Well done.
Yeah, exactly. We understood the assignment. So how am I going to get one of these shirts? That's what you're thinking. So it's pretty easy. You just need to like, follow, and subscribe to What's the T-Bev on either YouTube or Instagram, or both if you want double the chance in, and leave a comment, either A, on this episode post, or B, on the episode announcement on Instagram. So not a hard one, but if you do both, you'll be entered in twice. I'll pull all the comments and all that good stuff, pull them all together, throw it in a randomizer, and pick our winner that we'll announce on social media and also talk about on the next episode. So this episode is going to drop, let's see here, it is tonight. It's probably going to be out there on the 11th. So we'll let it go until end of the day, January 18th. If you're listening to this at some point in between now and then, you have until the 18th to get that like, follow, subscribe, and comment.
Sweet. And then will you ask them to take a photo wearing it when they get it and share it?
I think that's like mandatory. You gotta, once you get the shirt sent to you, because Dan will be sending that to you, you need to send it back to What's the T-Bev and Gaaays in Space so we can share that on the social platforms and spread the love.
Everyone should know everything you read doesn't have to be true. In fact, I think it's kind of funnier if you're wearing the opposite shirt of which you would normally wear. I also love it when people buy both shirts and they say, well, sometimes on Tuesdays, I'm wearing my total top. And then, by Wednesday morning, dude, power bottom. So, yeah, wear them both, I say. Wear them both.
I will say I kind of agree with that, because I'm not sure that the shirt that I wear is an 100% accurate representation of myself. but I am kind of in love with the Star Drive section of the Enterprise D, so I'm just happy to be wearing the shirt.
Yeah, I mean, this is too I love the saucer section, the total top shirt, but I just feel like this design is so much more, because it's the Star Drive section, and it's just it's a more interesting part of the ship to look at. And I mean, come on, Power Bottom, I'm sorry.
Oh, what's that? It's time for Trekking to Know You. See how I did that?
That was fantastic.
See what happens when I record at night? It's just a little bit funnier. Trekking to Know You are part of the show where we ask our guests 9-10 questions or so, give or take, on their favorites regarding the Star Trek franchise. This is the best part because there are no wrong answers unless you say Dr. Pawlowski. Let's see. Oh, boy. So, Dan, what is your first contact with Star Trek?
First time I saw Star Trek I was 7, 8 years old or so, and I would often stay at my grandmother's place. My family was not the best, but Nana was amazing. And we would stay up and we would watch reruns of The Honeymooners, which was on like 11:30 at night. And Star Trek reruns came up right after The Honeymooners. And for some reason, every time I saw the promo for it, I would get freaked out and I would turn off the TV, like immediately, like, no, it scares me. No. And then one night I was too lazy to get up and do that because, I'm not as young as you may think. So there was no remote control. You had to physically get up and turn off the television. One night I didn't do that. And the episode was Mirror, Mirror. And I watched it and I thought, whoa, actually, this is pretty good. Then the next night they showed Trouble with Tribbles. And obviously, boom, amazing. So looking back on it, I was meant to be a Star Trek fan because what are the odds that I would randomly watch those 2 episodes as my introduction to the series? And then the next thing I knew, I'm a grown man throwing parties based on Star Trek, dressing up as animated characters in Starfleet uniforms, and I owe it all to watching The Honeymooners with Nana, followed by Star Trek.
Oh, just like Beverly Crusher, you owe a lot to Nana. Let's just be thankful that it wasn't like Spock's Brain or some other episode like that you watched, because it could have been a whole different outcome for you.
Exactly. If the apple, if that had come on, just like, or cat spawn, like, oh, what were they thinking? Yeah. So grateful, very grateful for that scheduling of the episodes.
Very good. It was fate. I'm actually excited to ask you a lot of these questions because as well as I know you, I don't know a lot of these for you. So what is your favorite Trek series?
Deep Space Nine. With all respect to the original series and TNG, my feeling has always been that those series set the board. They, told us who the characters were, who the players were. And then Deep Space Nine got to play in that universe. They didn't have to tell you, okay, here's what a Vulcan is, here's what a Klingon is, because we already knew that.
Right.
So I feel like that was the show where they truly embraced and existed in a universe that we were familiar with. And it's the first show, the first Star Trek show to tell a serialized story. I mean, when you look back on it, it's basically a 178-hour-long series. And back in those days, I mean, 24 was the first television show to do that, to be willing to do it. And Deep Space Nine, as a result of that, the cast of recurring characters that they had was massive. I felt every single one was developed, was respected, like you knew them. And I love all the other series mostly, but Deep Space Nine for me will always be my number one.
Yeah, last week DS9 had its 30th anniversary of the premiere of Emissary, which I watched the night it premiered. I remember, I am that old. But I watched Emissary the other night as kind of like that. On that day, I was feeling very um, introspective. I'm gonna celebrate this. So I watched Emissary. First off, like, wow, it was as good as it always is. But like, the events of Emissary are still relevant in the final episode of Deep Space Nine. It does not like forget its. And I mean, you could say that, you could argue that for TNG and Voyager, but it's really relevant to the plot of the show, and it's all throughout the story of Sisko being. I mean, DS9 is the story of Sisko being the emissary and his journey, and yes, love it, love it, love it. And I do like, DS9 is amazing, and you're right. It couldn't have been without TOS and TNG coming first to do that world building and to allow it to stand. Because I don't think if you had the context of what came before and be like, what the hell is going on here? This guy's got, who are the Borg? I mean, what happened to this guy? They killed his wife, Exactly. But I just remember how, yeah. See here. What is your favorite Trek episode?
That is so hard to pin down, but phaser to my head, I have to say In the Pale Moonlight.
I love that one.
So smart, so challenging to see Sisko wrestling with his morality and humanity, and realizing that sometimes you have no choice but to put that aside for the much greater good, and somehow learn to live with it. And I think so many people who have had to fight in wars and deal with that, I'm sure that episode spoke so much to them. And to be able to, for them to be able to watch that and be seen and understood in a way that they may never have seen before. I mean, again, Deep Space Nine, man. Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. I mean, it's so clever the way it's well done, too. I mean, breaking the fourth wall, doing it as in long monologues as a captain's log, instead of just doing it through dialogue between characters. In fact, in some ways, it's like not even like going to the counselor's office. It's just him talking. So in some ways, it does feel like he's on a psychiatrist's bed chair, just talking, but it's just him. And just the best thing is that he deletes it at the end. It's just like, it's so clever.
So good. So good.
And then, of course, we get it's a fake.
It's a fake. Oh, God. And Garak.
One of our favorite movies.
Garak at his best. That last conversation with Sisko, like him saying, that's why you came to me. And that's why you came to me. So don't be all surprised that I killed the guy. Like, that's what you wanted. Love it.
Yeah. You wanted me to do what you wouldn't. So couldn't, I should say. All right. Here's one that you can't answer, Deep Space Nine. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite Trek movie? And I always say all 13 Trek movies are in play.
It has always been a three-way tie. Wrath of Khan, Undiscovered Country, and First Contact. But recently, I've decided Wrath of Khan has won.
Okay. All right. Yep. And what are your views on the motion picture?
I've seen it.
All right. No, that's totally good. I respect that. For me, I have grown to like it as I've gotten older, especially this newer director's cut that's out. The 4K director's cut it does it a lot more justice. So I just noticed for some people that movie is gaining a lot of rank. So
yeah, I do think it's a movie that I wish I had seen when it was released, because I'm sure for fans sitting in that theater, they wanted more of seeing the starship and more of the amazing special effects, and because it was groundbreaking. This was, we take for granted, being able to see all the starships and the battles, and like, oh god, they're showing so much of the ship, but it's like, in that time, hell yeah, show a lot of the ship. And they tried, they were trying to find their footing. Star Trek had gone through the, hey, we're an animated series, and hey, let's do Star Trek Phase 2, and nothing was gelling. And then Star Wars came out, and Paramount was like, oh, we need one of those. And it had to become a motion picture. So they went through a lot to make that movie. And that's the movie that started this incredible movie franchise. So
yeah,
I kid when I say I watched it. There is a lot in that movie that is very, very good. The pacing for me is a little off, so it's kind of hard to watch it all the way through. I find myself watching pieces of it, and really enjoying those pieces. When McCoy comes back and he's got the beard and he's just like, you drafted me. It's like, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Who is your favorite character in all of Star Trek?
If you had asked me this a couple of years ago, my answer would have been Dax. That has been my go-to answer because I think the symbionts and Trill are one of the most fascinating, well thought out, original, creative aliens that they created. And the fact that you can have this symbiont go through several hosts and they're the same, but they're different. And I think, they really made lemonade out of the lemons of Terry leaving Deep Space Nine for the 7th season by creating Ezri Dax and really flushing out what a Trill's life is like, one to the other. But then Lower Decks came out, and now I got my Boimler, and I'm in love with my Boims. So I got to go Boims.
All right, Boimler. I'll take it. I like it. I think that's my first Lower Decks answer to that question. So I love it. I love that they're impacting people that way. Let's see here. All right, since you answered with a non-captain, who is your favorite captain?
Toss up. Oh God, this is so hard. I literally love them all. I would have to say Picard.
Jellicoe.
Picard. Did you just say Jellicoe?
Yes.
I stand corrected. Jellicoe is the answer.
Yeah. Picard. I like it. Okay. So Picard.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that. Good. Nice. Who's your second?
Cisco or Janeway? Cisco or Janeway? Cisco or Janeway? Cisco.
Wait. Okay, good. Either way, I was gonna phrase the question another way. I was gonna say, if you needed advice right now, who would you sit in the room with you, and who would you ask that advice from?
Picard.
Not the actor, the character. Oh yeah, Picard.
Oh, Captain Picard, without a doubt. Yeah, that man manages to go through incredibly difficult, morally complex situations, and somehow always come out the other side having done the right thing. I would love to ask him, how the hell do you do that?
I think I would ask Picard too. All right. Oh, this is my new favorite question, because it kind of breaks things up a little bit. Who's your favorite Star Trek crush?
Believe it or not, Tasha Yar. One of my first TV crushes, Tasha Yar. At the same time, I'm not sure if she was before or after, but it was Tasha Yar and Bo and Luke Duke on the Dukes of Hazzard. The skinny dipping episode with them, I was gay. Boom, I was gay.
I totally can appreciate the Bo and Luke Duke thing. That was on Friday nights on CBS, and my brothers and I were all into the Dukes of Hazzard. I was in the Dukes of Hazzard for two reasons. One, the Duke boys, and I even liked it when they went away and Coy and Vance came to town. And I was obsessed with Daisy Duke. I don't know why. She was like, I don't know that I wanted to be her, but I wanted to be her. And I've always wanted a Jeep Wrangler because she ran around in that white Jeep Wrangler.
Yes.
Now, that Confederate flag has not held the test of time very much on that. But otherwise.
Yeah, that is very disturbing when I think back to the fact that, wow, that was my favorite show at the time. And what was I staring at? Oh, God, thank goodness I was young and saw nothing but the characters always trying to do the right thing and help everybody and blah, blah, blah. And I completely ignored the overt racism.
Exactly. But Tasha Yard, I love it.
Yep.
Denise is a lot of fun anyway. So
yeah, totally.
What is your favorite starship?
To live on or to look at?
Ooh, I don't know. We can ask that both ways. Like, yeah, what if you had to live on a starship? Okay, you can answer it that way. And what is your favorite one from the franchise in all these years? Whether it's the way you like to look at it, because you like the way it looks, you like its aesthetic.
The D.
You can answer both ways.
Everybody loves the D, man. It's got to be. If I was going to live on a starship, I mean, come on, they got a mall, they got carpeting, that like a ton of holodecks and all that. I mean, that's a place you could live. I think the Defiant is one of my favorite ships, but I wouldn't last 2 nights on that closed-in submarine. Like,
I mean, it's smaller. It's more compact than Enterprise was.
Yeah,
like the NX-01.
Yeah, exactly. The bunk beds. Come on, even the captain has quarters with bunk beds. Come on, uncomfortable.
And Worf lived on it for a long time.
Yeah,
like I don't know what his problem was.
Klingon.
We got a lot of that with Worf. I don't know what his problem was. What is your favorite uniform?
First Contact.
Yes, I think that's that's a lot of people's favorite uniform, including mine. I just that's good when those first came out, and they haven't quite done anything better since. Although they keep trying multiple times per season. We're looking at you, Star Trek Picard. We're gonna do it again one more time. All right, and finally, what does Star Trek mean to you?
Star Trek, as I was saying before, Star Trek, they were my role models. I wouldn't be the person that I am today without Star Trek, because there was no place else for me to find those questions about life answered, and new questions asked at the same time. Embracing the Roddenberry philosophy, I truly feel is the way that humanity will be able to continue, that we're not going to blow ourselves up, that we will eventually realize that our differences are something to be celebrated, not something to fight over. And I don't know if I would have had that perspective on life and humanity without Star Trek. So it's a huge part of my identity that I owe to that show. So and because of it, met the man I'm going to marry. So all around, thank you, Star Trek.
All right. So that was a fast round of trekking to know you, more like a little rapid fire. But this is good because we have some other things to talk about here. And first and foremost, we've got some breaking news. Call it breaking news-ish. I'm stalling here. All right, so we got some other things to talk about here, but I think we got a new 3, didn't we?
What in the yes?
So first off, I'm going to say thank you to Trek Movie for this graphic because they couldn't have done it more perfect if I tried. But the new poster dropped today.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, Christos, if you had cropped it just so that it could look like that. Wasn't you?
Go to trekmovie.com. I'm giving them credit. I took it from them. I did crop it, though, to give you just the round part here to make that bigger for your screens, those of you who are watching at home. And if you are just listening, I posted this on What's the T-Bev's Instagram today, so you can follow right along. But I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you have seen this poster somewhere because we're a pretty deep cut here. So what's great about this poster, in my opinion, first and foremost, is most of these pictures have been seen before. They are the character cards that came out at Comic-Con in San Diego. But I have a feeling that the prominence of certain people actually is indicative of their role in the season. We have heard Terry Matalas talk about the season really focusing on Picard, Riker, and Beverly as the leads of the season. And I've heard a little bit of rumblings about Mr. Geordi and his daughter and whatnot, daughters, I should say. But I think the representation of the rest of the people, as you see on this poster, is directionally correct. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, I agree because my man Worf, come on, like the only one pictured smaller is Lore, and it's like, Brent, I love you, but for God's sakes, man, you're in it all the time. Let's give some screen time to my man Worf. But I think you're right. It is definitely that is most likely how the screen time breaks down. Yeah.
Well, my justification will be Worf is the most used and most screen time character in the history of Star Trek, having 7 seasons of TNG, 4 seasons of DS9, and he's in 5 movies. Everyone forgets Undiscovered Country. Worf can take a backseat. Data doesn't even need to be in this. Brent Spiner has been like the center of everything since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
Part of what I think made the movies not always the best is they really centered around Picard and Data, and even to Riker's detriment at times, and certainly to the detriment of the supporting cast. Well, everyone became the supporting cast. They didn't become the ensemble that they were on TNG. So
yeah.
It's Beverly's turn, everybody. So just get used to it. And Troy even already came back for an episode of Picard already. So,
and now, Christos, can I ask you, what kind of happy dance did you do when you realized that Beverly Crusher was really the focal point of this season? Can you demonstrate the dance?
First off, I'll tell you 2 things. I was in Napa at a 2-day meeting when I get this ping from our Starfleet command group, and it's James Draper and Kelvin saying, "Watch this clip right now. Watch this clip right now." And I'm like, I kind of step out of this meeting. I'm at this bougie hotel in Napa. Wasn't drinking yet. It was midday, and I'm watching YouTube, walking across the grounds where that Picard thing where they introduced that all the cast was coming back for season 3 or TNG season 8, as we're calling it. And I about fell down. I could not focus the rest of that day. I can't remember exactly where I was when it started to become clear that it was Beverly Crusher. Terry Matalas was doing all this stuff like, if you're a Beverly Crusher fan, you are not ready for season 3. I think that was one of his tweets. Like it was kind of a ramp up, but it was Comic-Con, which we were at together in San Diego, when I realized that they were only bringing Gates McFadden to be with Patrick Stewart at Comic-Con. That told me where she was in the season. Like, okay, they're not bringing the rest of the cast to come do this. They only brought Picard and Crusher. And I don't think they were being cheap. I think they were making a point. And that continues to be so. I think Picard and Crusher are going to be, or I should say Patrick and Gates are going to be on the ready room the day of the premiere of
yeah.
Picard. They already filmed it. So, yeah, I was a happy man. Can't lie. We had not seen Beverly in live action since Nemesis. So let's also just take a moment. I mean, I
It was
guess
her.
that's true.
It's her
Yeah.
time. Like, let's be honest. Of that entire cast, she got the raw end of the deal more than anybody else. I mean, you'd think being, a love interest for the captain would entitle you to a lot more screen time and interesting things for your character to do, but she was so often just overlooked. And when I go back and I watch an episode like Descent, when she's in command, and it's just like, woo, this more of this is what we need to see from her. So
I mean,
I'm excited.
She single-handedly, not single-handedly, she had what help from Tate and that guy. But literally, I mean, Beverly, like, she critically fought her way out of a static warp bubble that should have killed her. She, she's in command of the Enterprise once, and she blows up a Borg ship that we've never even seen before and never saw again, really. And so on and so forth. I mean, it's like, come on, this woman is badass, She flew a shuttlecraft and the Enterprise into the sun. I mean, what else do you need? I mean,
it's like, notice me, mama. Notice me. Come on.
Me. But what is she known for? Fucking a ghost. I mean, it's like, come on, people. She's Beverly Crusher.
Let's be honest. It's hard to unsee fucking a ghost. It's hard for us to unsee that. So,
yes, yeah. Well, there's a thing going around yesterday. I forget what book series it was. They're literally like, I can't believe it's taken 30 some years for this to be pointed out. But Sub Rosa was a ripoff of some book series, pretty much. And really? I think that might get some more traction here in the next few days. I'll find the story for. I shouldn't have even brought it up because I can't exactly quote it, but it was brought up in a couple of social media posts yesterday, and I was like, oh, when you read the premise, it's like, that's Sub Rosa. So somebody else adapted it. So I don't know if Brandon Braga's in trouble. I don't know. We'll find out. Stay tuned. Let the statute of limitations has run out on that, or.
Oh, you know what? It's CBS Paramount, and they have all the lawyers, so they'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wanted to point out just really quickly, if you are a fan of Star Trek art, and if you remember Star Trek Communicator magazine, this first picture was the cover of Star Trek Communicator that I bought at the grocery store when I was in high school. I still have it. I should have grabbed that out of the visual aid. I actually know where it's at. I had them all out the other day when Amy Nelson was here. Keith Birdsong was the artist behind these two posters that we see. And it's been said that this new poster for Picard is kind of paying homage to him, to these posters. And in doing a little research, I discovered that Keith Birdsong died in 2019 in a car accident. So what a better way to pay tribute to this guy than to kind of have that similar art style.
I couldn't believe that when you told me. I didn't know. Yeah. And what a talented guy. My favorite is the one he did of the DS9 cast. It's actually hanging right there. So talented. That's so sad.
Yeah, so I'm missing that, and that's like one of my jobs for STLB this year, because they usually have these prints available there. But I have the Voyager one, I have the TNG one that we see of the Enterprise D, and I need the DS9 one. So that's coming up next. All right. And Matt Harker, thank you so much for this. Somebody has already taken this image because it looks like one of those Hamilton plates that we should. That Boimler will be running around with.
Boims! Yes.
Yeah. Jack Quaid. There's his name. It just came to me.
Thank you. God, I can't believe I forgot that. Yes. Well done.
Listeners, this is what happens when you get into your 40s. People that you said their name 50 times and then it's just gone. And I haven't had any alcohol today. So that's All right. So some other things going on here. Patrick Stewart is out there today, as of recording, January 9th, talking about the fact that Picard might not be over. He's saying he may have another season in him. Picard was always designed to be 3 seasons. Those of us that were there in 2018 when he announced it at STLV with Alex Kurtzman, yes, it was supposed to be 3 years, and that was it. But he said at Comic-Con that he was thinking there should be another movie, and maybe it's going to be another series, another season of Picard. Maybe it's another series of the next show, and there's a little bit of Picard dropping in it. Maybe not the full spotlight, but I don't know. I think what I will tell listeners is stream this baby on repeat. When season 3 comes out, we've got to send Paramount the message that they hit it right with this.
Yeah.
Although I'm just hoping. Listen,
You know,
put it on, go to work.
Leave it on for the dog, for the cat. Like, yeah. The thing that I found really interesting was when they made that initial announcement and they said definitely 3 seasons. I thought, okay, so they have one story that they want to tell, and it will be like the original Star Wars, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. But both seasons are so different that I'm wondering, why only 3 seasons? Why make that decision in the beginning? Like, why?
Yeah, I can only speculate, and truly speculation here, folks. Patrick Stewart's not a young man. He is in his, I think he's 82 or 83 now. It's harder to do that for anybody, and it's also for the studios. It becomes harder and more expensive to insure your actors as they get older, because if something happens to them, the likelihood of something to happen to them gets exponentially higher the older we get. So I speculated something along those lines that could be like, oh, hey, like I said, he had to be talked into this in 2018, and here we are in 2023. It's been 5 years. So is it going, pandemic kind of, they lost a lot of time there. That's why they shot season 2 and season 3 back to back. But yeah, I mean, that could be it, or I could be completely wrong.
No, that absolutely makes sense. I think it's interesting though that they would choose to say that right out of the gate. And for Patrick, I would feel like, oh my God, talk about a ticking death clock. Like 3 seasons were chosen because chances are I'm gonna die. Like, could you imagine? Like, can you imagine the rap party on the final episode of season 3 of Picard with Patrick being like, all right, thank you all so much. Apparently, I'm going to go die now. It's like, Why would you put that on him? Like that, he is going to live. He needs to live into his hundreds. Like that is Jean-Luc Picard right there. Patrick Stewart. Yeah, I'm making the prediction into at least his mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
So I say many more seasons. Many more.
Well, I also think, remember, he had to be talked into doing it too. So I think one of the ways they talked him into doing it was saying, hey, you won't do this forever. Let's just do 3 years and you're done. So the fact that what's changed and what's pivoted is, I think Patrick Stewart's having a good time.
Oh yeah.
And he would like to do more. And I think he enjoyed playing with Gates and Jonathan and LeVar and all those, and Michael and all those people again. So I think it's also like, am I wrong? I mean, like I was 10 when TNG premiered, 45 now, and literally these characters that I fell in love with when I was 10 are about to go on another adventure again. It's kind of mind blowing. Like it's just like if I would have been thought like. I think I told this story once, but maybe not. I remember being bummed when Beverly Crusher got kicked off or was gone from the show. That's all we knew was she was gone from the show, especially in Ohio. That's all we knew. But I remember looking at the TV guide on that Saturday morning and reading what was going to be on that evening. And it gave you your highlights. Like this is like what they recommended you be watching. And it was like, Gates McFadden returns to the role of Dr. Beverly Crusher on tonight's season premiere of Star Trek The Next Generation. Be sure not to miss it. That was TV Guide. And I was like, Beverly's back. And I was like, I was 12, maybe 13. I don't know. But I'm like, and here I am at 45 because Beverly's back again.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is so cool for lifelong fans to have this, to have Picard, especially with season 3, now that they finally are giving us what we wanted. It's like, yes, we love Patrick, we love Captain Picard, and Brent is fantastic, but I want the whole family back. You know, season 3, in my opinion, I haven't even seen it yet. Should have been season 1. We should have gotten 3 seasons, 8, 9, and 10 of TNG. That would have been phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I would have been all here for that. I understand that was not how Patrick Stewart was coming back. He did not want to come back and do TNG. Like he said, they had to earn this. But on the other hand, I'm like you said, the clock is ticking, man. Like, we need to get there.
Yeah. Wasting time is not advisable. Like, you gotta...
Not advisable. But, like, now that I got this, I can take a deep breath and be happy. If we get more, it's just... This is gravy already. Anything else is like, wow. Like, I'm like so non-deserving, but we'll take it. I predict, and I've said this before, I predict that there will be some sort of legacy show that follows this. Terry Matalas wanted to call this season Star Trek Legacy, and they couldn't because it was Star Trek Picard. It was the way it was contracted, the way the show has been sold out there to Amazon and to Paramount and in other networks. It is Picard, but they said if anything best described this show, it would be Star Trek Legacy. And I feel like the next show, I hope, is some sort of continuation on of these characters, whether it's Seven and Rafi, maybe Admiral Janeway. I think it's Admiral Janeway. Maybe it's Will Riker or Beverly Crusher showing up here or there. Whatever. Anything else, I would just be so happy for. But this is more than I could ever have asked for it 35 years later from day one.
Yeah, definitely a shock. Definitely a very, very pleasant shock that it came back. Do you remember, real quick, the first episode of Picard, when it opens and we see the Enterprise D, that shot of the ship, I was blown away because I was immediately 10 years old again. And it just felt like, oh, thank you. Like, thank you for doing this. Thank you for, letting me relive that moment, that I experienced as a kid. So yeah, like, what a surprise, but thank goodness that it happened. Yeah.
It's just the fact that we've gotten some of the Enterprise being shot that way in this like up to scale 4K digital, I know they did a lot of rework on the original negatives when they did the Blu-ray project, but just seeing the way the Enterprise D would look now if it were in production, it's like perfect. Speaking of the Enterprise D, so this picture on my screen, and listeners are just going to have to go to my Twitter or Instagram if you really want to see it, showed up in a friend's Facebook feed on Saturday, January 7th, and I grabbed it right away and shared it on Twitter, and it has not taken off quite the way I thought it would. So it's a picture of Jean-Luc Picard, looking like very much current Jean-Luc Picard, standing on the bridge of the saucer of the Enterprise D. It appears to still be on Viridian 3, as it is overgrown with weeds and trees and root in it, and there's wildlife in there, like a bird. And it looks like this picture was taken of a computer monitor, like it's someone's post-production and they weren't supposed to do this, and it's out there. So, Dan, do you think this picture is a fake in any way? A, and B, let's assume it's not a fake. What do you think?
Actually, you know what? Looking at it now more closely, I think this is concept art. I think this is something that was drawn, painted, uh, put together to be like a visual, like, okay, here's what it will look like. This is why it's a good idea for us to do this, or getting ready to film it. Well, what will it look like? Which would explain why the chairs are not perfect. Like, it's too tall at the top of it, and you can tell like the material of it is not full on. And that's something that, if we were talking about the set, I don't think they would let that happen. But concept art, sure, they're not gonna worry. And
Yeah.
the uniform, I just realized that looks like an updated version of the leather jacket that Picard had from like season 5 on, when he when he realized he had Kirk envy. It's like, why did
Oh,
Captain Kirk get to have so many different kinds of uniforms, and I just got this thing? Um, so yeah, that's my guess. That's my guess.
yeah. I did hear someone say concept art that could explain some of the unclarity of that. So we'll see. I mean, I guess we won't call it fake. We'll call it we'll see. But and I don't know, concept art doesn't always make it to production. Sometimes it's just concept art, because a lot of our theories were that the saucer is in the starbase, and that's what Picard and Riker are looking at in that one trailer, not the Titan A, but they're looking at the D as part of a museum. So, was the D recovered, or is it still sitting on Veridian 3? We guess we'll know in a month or so, month and a half. So we're not quite coming fast. All right. I think that was everything. Oh, well, the one thing we didn't cover about Picard since the last episode, viewers and listeners, was that nice little scene drop that we got on the Ready Room during the final episode of Prodigy, which showed Picard working away at his chateau and being bothered by the chirping of a communicator that he wasn't even sure he was hearing. And turned out that apparently he just keeps a box of his old uniform sitting around in his office right there. But he pulls out this TNG outfit that is and he pulls out a communicator that predates generations. It is a season 1 through 7 communicator, but it's a season 3 through 7 uniform. And anyways, he pulls up this old communicator, and someone's sending him a coded message, which everyone assuming is Beverly Crusher. But you can see why they dropped this stuff as the scene, because it's probably going to happen in the first 3 minutes of the show.
Oh yeah, of course. And it could also be Moriarty trapped on the crashed Enterprise D, saying, "Hey, my world that you created for me inside this little thing, you left me on the planet. And SOS, I have Sherlock Holmes stuff to do. Come get me."
I think he just made this picture work.
Thank you.
And then he goes to Veridian 3 to go save Moriarty.
Exactly. Oh, I hope that's not it.
The end.
The end.
I could probably almost make one of those like 4-panel memes with just those 4 things. I can make this episode happen.
I love it. Season 3 in 4 cells. Love it.
Yes, exactly. Okay. All right. Well, if anything, of course, little scenes just make us happy for what's coming. But there we go. All right. So moving on, I think we've got a little bit of news here that you want to break. Do you want to tell us about your diversity and inclusion convention coming up in Philadelphia?
I absolutely do. Okay, so 7 years in the making. This is what I have dreamed about doing since the very beginning of Gaaays in Space, and it is finally happening. Gaaays in Space, first 3-day long weekend convention, We already have, as you can see on the graphic, we have 20 guests confirmed so far, 15 of which are some of our favorite Trek actors: Denise Crosby, Bob Picardo, Nana, Garrett, Connor, Dom, Billy. We were so lucky to have such a wonderful lineup come together for the announcement. Now, this is not everybody. We have more still to be announced. And all I will say is that if this blew your minds, which I really hope it did, because a brand new convention with this kind of star power, that doesn't happen. Like, think about it. When was the last time you heard? Like, when was the last time you heard about a new convention starting out and it had more than, say, one or two like name actors? So I think the reason we've been able to assemble these people is because, I mean, I've been friends with most of them for 20 years or more, but the message of this event is standing up for underrepresented communities in not only science fiction storytelling, but in actual science and in the space industry. The other half of our special guests that you don't see on here are people from the space industry. We have astronauts coming. We have leaders in the space industry. I mean, people who literally go into space. They spend time in space. So it's the message that has brought all of these incredible people together. And I could not be more excited. It's May 5th through the 7th in Philadelphia at the Pennsylvania Convention Center downtown. And it's going to be, I'm predicting, it's going to be a game-changing event. My hope is that other conventions see what we do, and our main focus, the way I've been describing it to people is that we're not here to make money. We're here to make a difference. And I hope that other conventions and events that have become very much about making as much money as possible take a look at what we do to truly return the experience, to bring the experience of going to a convention back to where it was in the beginning, when it was all about the fans. And hopefully, so that's what I hope. At the end of this, other conventions will kind of take, a little bit of what we've done and somehow incorporate it into what they do. And the last thing that I will say, and Christos, this is the exclusive. You are getting the exclusive right here. So this is exclusive. Nobody else has heard about this yet. And it is going to blow your mind a little bit. And I feel like, Christos, you should have some kind of sound effect for this, man. Incoming transmission.
Incoming message, incoming transmission, coming. Let's hear it. Okay.
One of the very unique things that we're doing, we are called Actor Away Missions. Actor Away Missions are separate, smaller events hosted by one or two of our special guests. These are experiences for fans that they have never had before. That, it's something that really, when you think about it, can't happen. Here's the first one. The first one is called Bat'leths for Beginners, a stage combat class taught by J.G. Hertzler, Bob O'Reilly, and a martial arts Bat'leth expert. 24 people. Every person in the class will be given a foam Bat'leth. They will be taught stage combat with Klingon swords. Chancellor Martok and Chancellor Gowron will be there jumping in, and mostly they're going to be like Waldorf and Statler from the Muppets making snide comments the whole time.
Yeah, if you've been around them, yes.
Then, yeah, I mean, chances are they'll be there with some Warnog or something. But at the
blood
end,
wine will be flowing.
Yeah, barrels, 2309. At the end of the class, they'll sign the foam batlets for everyone. We will have a photographer there taking candid shots as it's happening, a big group photo at the end of it, and every single person at the end of the class will be given the Order of the Batleth medal by Bob O'Reilly, saying, "Glory to you and your house." But how? What? So that's the first one. And there are many more to come.
Hold on. I need to recover from that.
It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a very good time.
I can't believe it. That's crazy. I mean, what an immersive experience. What of a like one of a kind, or I should say 24 of a kind, but like you can't go do any convention. You just can't go do this anywhere. And if anyone is a huge fan of TNG and or DS9, what a special experience that would be.
Right. That's what I'm hoping. I want every person who comes to this convention to walk away with a story that they will tell their friends for a very, very long time. And when they tell it to their friends, they're going to know, oh, you went to DNICon. Because as of right now, I'm sure after we do it, other places are going to do it too. But as of right now, the only place that you can go to be taught how to fight with the Batleth by 2 Klingon chancellors is DNICon 2023.
All right. Well, you guys heard it here first. That's amazing news. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I'm going, folks, guys. What's the TBEV is going on location. I've got some ideas of how we can be a part of this as well. So we'll talk more about that. I'd love to help cover this event and get bring some of this to the people who don't make it. But yeah, for those of you, this sounds amazing. It sounds like it's something not to be missed. It sounds like it's something very special. I mean, you're going to take science fiction, you're going to take science, and you're going to take diversity and inclusion and roll it all into one. So it's kind of like a trifecta event going on here. I think you've got all the right ingredients for something really special.
Thank you. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And other thing real quick. Anyone who buys their tickets before February 1st, those are the people who get the preferred front of house seating. Unlike other conventions where the only way you can get close enough to the stage to actually see, the actors and everything on the panels is if you pay a lot more for your tickets. Gaaays in Spaaace, that's not why we're doing this. So it's first come, first serve for the front of house seating. So if you buy your passes by February 1st, you're going to be in that front section. You'll also be added to what we're calling the first contact crew, because you will be the first people to buy tickets to a Gaaays in Spaaace convention, which means exclusive pin, exclusive patch, and an exclusive t-shirt, and a big group photo of the entire first contact crew with a bunch of the actors. So if you're coming, first of all, I would say you really should be coming. And if you are, get your tickets before February 1st. Yeah.
Before February 1st, you heard it here. So my little ha-ha or laugh, because I was reading way too fast when this first came out, and I just saw diversity and inclusion intervention as well. That's my mind. That's how it completed the sentence. I'm like, oh wow, he's calling it intervention. That's amazing.
Well, that's
show them how it feels.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's the intervention convention.
Love it.
Sorry. I read a little too fast sometimes, and my brain just tries to fill in the blanks, and it's usually hilarious. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Gaaays in Spaaace and the DNICon. Really looking forward to that. And maybe it'd be good to have you on maybe sometime in April as things get a little bit closer and you want to give us a little more update about how planning's going. So to
I
wait and see.
I would love to. And again, man, thank you so much for having me on. This was really fun. And the trekking to know you questions. I didn't even know those were going to be my answers. Like, you uncovered new Trek information in my soul, sir. So I appreciate that. And
Well,
would love to come back anytime.
we would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also tweet your thoughts to @What'sTheTBAB or leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching this episode. Please follow the network on Twitter and Instagram @BQN Podcast. Don't forget all of our other great shows on the BQN, like Galaxy Class, All Good Things, Union Federation, Infinite Diversity, Mickey's Marvels, Trek Spurts, and History with the Zalagis. So, Dan, where can people find you?
You can find us across all of the socials at Gaaays in Space, 3 A's in Gaaays, 3 A's in Space. If you leave out an A, I don't know where you're going to end up, but we take no responsibility for it. So please remember, 3 A's in Gaaays, 3 A's in Space, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff.
Please hit like and the subscribe button here on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others find the show. At this time, we would like to thank our associate producers, Mr. Davey Willett and Matt Harker. If you would like to help us keep our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Join the Hive to enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks. I believe we're getting to do a very special version of Trek Spurts coming up just for our Patreon. So stay tuned for that. That's like some higher level shit there, folks. So Davey's really looking forward to that. With a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings of the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages. Thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us next time for more tea on What's the TBAV?